Since my last video, I've made some changes to the overall scene. As you notice, the floor now has a proper wooden planks texture, and it ended up looking pretty good. So I reused the same skin shader on the Leprechaun for the goblin over here, and it's giving me roughly the look that I want. If you want a completely separate type of skin shader for the goblin, you can just make another duplicate with connections and network version of the skin shader for the goblin and make your necessary changes and just apply it to the goblin. But as you can see, if I right click and hold over the skin DX in Hypershade and choose select objects with material, it's selecting both the skin parts of the Leprechaun and all except the eyes of the goblin, but that's fine. I mean, the eyes are working for the most part, so I'll just leave them as is. Yeah, you could of course just choose the eyes. You might have to separate them. I'll leave that as an option to you. If you really want to have something very specific to the eyes, you might need to extract their geometry or do or separate it from the clothes object. And same with the teeth if you want something something specific for those. Or actually, you know what? You don't even need to separate. You can always assign materials to a selection of faces. So if you really wanted to have a different type of material for the eyes, but you don't want to separate it from the rest of the geometry that's a part of, you can simply select the faces and assign a material. So I can even show you. I'm just going to temporarily assign the default Lambert 1 material. Right click and hold, assign initial shading group to selection, and as you can see, just the eyes had that shader apply because just their faces were selected. So you don't need to separate. I correct myself. You just need to select the faces that you want the materials to be assigned to. So I'm going to go ahead and set it back. I believe originally it was the clothes, which aren't really the most appropriate. But even if I am going to change the eyes, I'll probably do it in an extra video that talks about various optional things that you can do to the object. For now, I'm just going to talk about the things that you need to do in order to give me the things that I want for you to turn in. So I'm going to go back into object mode here. And also as a reminder, if you're in any kind of split view layout like this, if you simply tap your spacebar while your mouse is over a specific panel or window, it'll maximize that window. So for example, if I want to go to full screen on my perspective viewport here, so with this viewport selected, I can tap spacebar, and as you can see, I can toggle between full screen and split screen. And if I have my mouse here, and also notice that I clicked inside this window, and it's highlighted, it is indicated by that border around. As you can see, there's a light gray border, and that indicates that's the window that's selected, and therefore that will be the one that gets expanded if I tap spacebar. Okay, so that's my outliner there, and I can expand it full screen by tapping spacebar. Just remember, if you hold down the spacebar, that'll give you access to the hotbox, but if you tap the spacebar, it allows you to toggle full screen on any of the windows in your split view. The turntable camera has already been set up for you in this scene, so all you need to do is within the viewports panels menu, go to perspective and go to turntable camera, and that should snap you to the camera. And if you have your animation controls on, you can scrub through the animation. As you can see, there's 144 frames of animation. Okay, but of course when we render this, we're not going to see this aspect ratio of what we're seeing in the viewport. There's a specific aspect ratio of what gets rendered as determined by our settings in the render settings. So to enable that framing of what we set in the render settings, you can enable resolution gate by clicking on this button here. Okay, that one right there. The one with the blue sphere in it. Be careful you don't click on the film strip. That's for film aspect ratio, and that's something a little different. We're more interested in the resolution gate, whereas this is the film gate. So resolution gate, as you can see, this green box and everything inside it represents what will actually be rendered, whereas all of this area that is grayed out is basically just going to be cropped away. And as you can see, everything has already been set up so that nothing gets cut off. Everything about the Leprechaun, at least, stays within the screen, and that's something you'd always want to be aware of whenever you're setting up a turntable camera. So additional things, and some of the things I did to set certain things up for you guys, such as the lighting, setting up the turntable, those will be covered in a additional video that talks about some of the optional things and just kind of background things that might be interest to some of you. But again, this video I'm just going to focus on the really important things that you guys need to know in order to turn in the correct things to me for the final project. Okay. Oh, and by the way, if you are not seeing these animation play options, then the way to enable them is if you hold down spacebar, and then in this eastern section, let me move this up a little bit. So in this eastern section that is between these two white diagonal tick marks, that is outside of any of these other menus, if you left click and hold, you'll see a couple options in the 6 and 7 o'clock positions that you're going to want to enable. The time slider and the range slider. The time slider is this one here, the one that I use to scrub through the animation, and the range slider is over here, which basically allows you to kind of zoom in and out on the on the entire animation, so you can specify an in and out frame for the animation. Okay, and once you have those, then you can just preview what is going to be rendered.